Am I the a-hole for wanting dad to walk me down the aisle rather than buy you dad? I'm 24 female am the result of an affair between my mom and her now husband, and my dad discovered the affair when I was 7. He divorced her but kept in contact with me and my brother 26 male, who is my dad's bio son. Mom and dad shared custody, because legally he was still my father, and brother was the only child they both had together, making him my half-sibling. I also have twin sisters, 17 female, my mom had with my bio dad. The fact is, my bio dad always felt like a stepfather, while my dad is the one I had a close bond with, and my brother is the sibling I'm closest to. My dad has never differentiated between my brother and me, took us on many vacations every weekend, and genuinely seemed more keen to maintain a close bond with me. He helped us both through college, and now we both have good jobs in our fields. My bio dad always seemed rather detached, and once when I asked him the reason, he said it was because he had not seen me born like he did my sisters. Now for the situation at hand. I'm getting married in the spring of 2022. I decided that I would have my dad walk me down the aisle and not my bio dad, and also that my brother would be my man of honor. When I told them of my decision, my dad became teary-eyed, and my brother pulled me into a hug. My bio dad got up and left the room. My sisters glared at me and asked me if I was happy after making bio dad upset, and my mom said she was disappointed in me. I told my sisters that they were still in the wedding party, just not as the maid of honor. They said they didn't want to be part of my wedding if their father would be disrespected, and I said I was okay with it. This resulted in a meltdown. My mom and sister started cussing me out, and my brother and dad stepped in and told them to leave, which they did. My fiancé and my brother are close friends, and he respects my dad a lot, so even he got agitated on learning what happened at the meeting. Since then, I have been getting a ton of messages and calls from my bio dad's side of relatives, calling me an a-hole for not choosing my, quote, real family. Mom called me to suggest if both my dad and stepdad walked me down the aisle, and I said no because my dad deserves to have that little moment to himself. She then negotiated that if my dad walks me down the aisle, then bio dad should have the father-daughter dance, to which I also said no. She said I was being stubborn and needed to be open-minded. My bio dad has not contacted me since. My mom said she doesn't know if she, dad, or my sisters would come to the wedding only to see my bio dad disrespected. I'm really confused and exhausted right now. Info: my mom did not have an 8-year-long affair. She cut off contact with him after she found out she was pregnant, and then reconnected years later, which is when my dad found out because she was then pregnant with my twin sisters. My bio dad told my dad that I too was not biologically his, and we had DNA tests done. Now for the top comments. My mom said she doesn't know if she, dad, or my sisters would come to the wedding only to see my bio dad disrespected. I, 24 female, am the result of an affair between my mom and her now husband, and my dad discovered the affair when I was 7. Your mother clearly doesn't know what disrespected mean. Not the a-hole. You get to decide who's doing what at your wedding. Bio dad and mom are a-holes. Yeah, cheated on the guy, lied to him about the kid being his for 7 years, and the other guy is the one who was disrespected? Don't forget the parts where he told her he doesn't feel the same towards her because he didn't see her being born, but she's not allowed to honor the man who actually treated her like his child. On top of it, he has 2 other daughters who would sound like they'll be happy to have him do the whole dad-daughter wedding thing. He was happy to let another man raise his kid. He doesn't get to claim the Kodak moments now. So, no one's gonna say it? Okay, I will. He may have been your father, Opie, but he wasn't your daddy. Right choice. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your bio dad is not entitled to walk you down the aisle. Neither is your dad. It's your decision whether to have anybody walk you down the aisle, and who. From your story, could you imagine your dad reacting the same way your bio dad is if the situation was reversed? That alone confirms you've made a solid choice. You could possibly have handled it a bit more graciously. Sounds like you announced it to all of them together, when it might have been nicer to tell people in private. But you were under no obligation to do so. Just tell your bio dad you don't feel as close to him, since he didn't see your birth. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out of my engagement party for what he said about my fiancé? I male 31 met my now fiancé at the clinic I work in. I'm a dentist. She works a lower paying job at the clinic. She's the sweetest, nicest, most beautiful woman I've ever met. She's smart, humble, and has a beautiful smile. It was a love at first sight for me, and I was lucky that she felt the same way about me. I introduced her to my family after 8 months of dating. She wanted to wait because of her fear that my family wouldn't accept her, but my sister became her best friend instantly. My mom admired her personality and became friends with her mom. My dad and brother kept their distance and made some pretty hurtful comments about how incompatible my fiancé and I were, and how I should keep it moving and look for someone with better background. They never said anything in front of her though. I ignored them completely and tried to protect my fiancé from their snide comments, but because mom and others wanted us to visit, then we didn't have much choice. Last week, we had our engagement party at a restaurant. I didn't want my dad or my brother there, but my mom told me to let my dad and brother come since my fiancé would notice I didn't invite them and ask questions about it. I decided to invite them after mom promised they remain civil and respectful. My family arrived together. My dad remained quiet, then started talking with other guests, so things were going pretty well. When dinner arrived, my brother sat with us at the table asking how much money I lost to make this dinner happen, then how much my fiancé contributed if at all. My fiancé and I were talking about her engagement ring, and my brother randomly started singing "I Ain't Saying She Gold Digger." My fiancé and her mom stared at him and stopped. I also gave him a look as a warning for him to knock it off. Then I got up from my seat to make a toast, and my brother interrupted me loudly coughing "prenup," and everyone heard him and stared awkwardly. I was livid to put my drink down and ask him to see me outside. I had an argument with him and told him to leave. He acted dumb about how he behaved, and mom got involved. I demanded he leave, and he did after calling me nuts. And then mom and dad said I shouldn't have kicked him out. Dad left shortly, which made mom say I caused a scene and ruined my own dinner by kicking my brother out. My fiancé was hurt by that, but mom said my brother cried because I kicked him out and wants us to meet to talk. My brother's older than me. He's 37 and divorced. Not today, Hall. How dare they disrespect your fiancé? That is crossing the line. I do believe your dad and brother must talk about their dislike for her a lot. If he had a gall to embarrass you and her at your own party, he deserves to get kicked out, and you shouldn't feel bad about it at all, nor would I even worry about meeting up with them. They didn't disrespect just his fiancé. They disrespected her entire side of the family. Completely unacceptable. Good on Opie for not glossing it over, or should never have known if she could trust him to be her partner. Not today, Hall. He cried? Good. He's acting like a child and thinks crying will get him everything he wants. He wants to call your fiancé a gold digger, while ignoring the fact he's acting like a spoiled, snobby little rich kid. Mom told me that. I believe her because it tends to use emotions to get others to side with him. It's a tactic of his that he uses all the time, and I, as his younger brother, am just expected to respect him. The tactic he's using is called DARVO, Deny, Attack, and Reverse Victim and Defender. He uses it as a way to manipulate others, like your mom, dad, you, to do what he wants, all the while not accepting responsibility for his actions. It's nothing more than a ploy. You may want to research it to find out what you're dealing with and how to deal with it. I'm so sorry you and your fiancé got hurt during all this. You deserve better. My brother is older than me. He's 37 and divorced. Divorced? You don't say. Couldn't for the life of me figure out why. A real gosh darn mystery. Not today, Hall. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my fiancé's sister an idiot for her rude comments about the number of siblings I have? To start, I got 8 other siblings, 9 of us in total. 2 of my brothers are biological, and the rest are foster siblings, but we're all very close. And to me, they're my real family, so I don't really introduce them as anything other than my brothers/sisters. I'm getting married in a few months and all my brothers are going to be my groomsmen, while sisters were asked by my fiancé to be her bridesmaids. My fiancé's sister Kate is someone we don't talk to much, but still her parents convinced her to let Kate be part of it. Recently, our families meet up for a barbecue at our place, and this is the first time her family meets mine. Well, except her parents since they couldn't make it. I introduced my siblings to everyone. Some point when we were talking to her sister, she says, "Your parents seriously had 9 kids?" She said it with so much disgust, and she seemed really mad about it. I told her yes, and Kate goes about how she thinks my parents were selfish and reckless for never figuring out how to use protection, And don't they know how stupid they are for having so many kids when there's already overpopulation? Part of me found it funny, but also very annoyed for thinking that's something she even thought was okay to say about people she just met. So I told her they were foster parents, and only 2 of my brothers are biologically related. Not that it's any of her business to critique other people's lives. She looked embarrassed and apologized, but then she got mad. Kate says, well, that's something I could have mentioned so to avoid her saying the wrong thing. And I told her, how about next time she just doesn't say anything at all and avoid looking like an idiot? My fiancé laughed a little, but Kate got mad. Then she walked off and made a comment to my fiancé's other sister and cousin about what I said. They know the context, but still think I was an a-hole because Kate was just bringing awareness to what she thought was something bad, and it wasn't necessary to call her names. She doesn't want to talk to me now, and while that doesn't bother me at all, I do wonder, was I an a-hole at all for doing that? Now for the top comments. Kate was just bringing awareness to what she thought was something bad. Who asked her? Your parents don't need her permission. Also, if they were biological, what are you supposed to do? Shove them all back up your mother? Get back in there, Linda. Kate says you don't deserve to be alive. Thank you. I needed a good laugh. Lol. Also, weren't you also just bringing attention to someone you thought was bad? Judging people and disparaging them before having all the details? Why is that any different? Not a-hole. She should be thankful she just looks like an idiot for her views, rather than seriously offending people because she doesn't agree with the idea of a couple having multiple biological children. Not her life to judge. She was silly to assume something, and when you assume, you only serve to make an A out of you, not me. Not a-hole. If she didn't have anything nice to say, she shouldn't have said anything at all. Seriously, what was her endgame in bringing something like that up? Honestly, no idea. My fiancé doesn't spend a lot of time with her for certain reasons. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law I will continue celebrating my daughter's birthday every year despite what happened on this day? My husband, 37, passed away a year ago from a car accident when he was on his way to celebrate our daughter's 5th birthday. And it was so sudden and devastating for my daughter especially. I got the news from my pastor, but I didn't interrupt my daughter's birthday and waited till the evening to tell my family. Generally, my relationship with my in-laws is good, and they supported me throughout the hard period in the past months. Days ago was my husband's anniversary as well as my daughter's 6th birthday. Days prior, I brought up my daughter's birthday to ask my in-laws if they wanted to join us to plan something together, since my daughter needed support. They were shocked that I was even thinking about throwing a party, knowing that this is the same day my husband passed away. I told them I'd be taking the morning to celebrate his 1st anniversary, then celebrate my daughter's 6th birthday in the evening. Mother-in-law got mad and warned me about having a birthday party, but I cut the conversation right then. We met at the cemetery at noon. Then I got home at 4 just in time to start the birthday celebration. We had some of her supportive friends, and my parents come and brought handmade gifts for my daughter using pictures of her dad. After the party was over, one of my daughter's friends' mother posted pictures of it on Facebook, and my sister-in-law saw it by coincidence. Sister-in-law and her mother came over later and blew up at me for throwing my daughter a birthday party at her dad's anniversary despite their disapproval. Mother-in-law said I was teaching my daughter to be callous with no sympathy, instead of taking the day to mourn her father's death properly. I argued with them and said that my daughter deserves to have a birthday celebration just like any other normal kid, and sternly said I'll continue to celebrate her birthday every year despite what happened. Mother-in-law said it was highly disrespectful of me, and kept saying I messed up and caused the entire family more hurt on this awful day. I told her to leave, and she said she won't forget this massive display of disrespect I showed her and her family on her son's anniversary till the day she dies. This caused others to call me callous and irrational, and although my brother-in-law sided with me and said my daughter shouldn't suffer on top of her trauma, I felt like I might have been disrespectful to my in-laws. Edit. You know, I've seen a number of people asking what my husband would have wanted. My husband always felt excited whenever our daughter's birthday came. He experienced the loss of a child from his previous relationship, and it affected him and his personality a lot. He always told me that he was blessed to have a daughter in his life and took every chance he got to spend time with her, even though he used to work long shifts and wasn't always able to stay home with us. I have to say, in the couple weeks prior to his death, He stayed with us most of the days and constantly talked about missing us despite being right there with him. He was very emotional in those 2 weeks. Your daughter suffered terribly, so the best thing to do is take away from her another joy that every other kid gets to have. Wow, logic. Not an a-hole. Exactly. And if they did stop celebrating her birthday, the kid would be more likely to grow up with a complex and blame herself and her existence for the death of her father. My dad's mom died on his birthday the year before I was born. He was crushed by it that he never wanted us to even talk about his birthday because it reminded him of his loss. Then when I was 10 or so, he was hurt by no one acknowledging his birthday. Sometime in the last decade, his grief diminished enough that it no longer overshadowed him being celebrated. All the years of not celebrating haunted his perception of how much his loved ones valued him. Not today, Ho. Celebrate her birthday. Your mother-in-law's grief isn't greater than your daughter's worth. You're not an a-hole. In Nigerian culture, celebrations of life are typical for us. We threw a party for my dad on the 2nd year anniversary of his death. He would want you to be happy. The in-laws are just grieving and misplacing their anger. Not an a-hole. Let me say this as a husband and a father. If I should happen to pass away on my daughter's birthday, I would be furious if anyone did anything to take away from her happiness of celebrating her birthday. If anyone wanted to have a remembrance ceremony for me, let them do it a week before or sometime after. But definitely not at the expense of my child's birthday. You did nothing wrong. I'm very sorry for your loss. Hey, thank you for taking from your precious time to respond. I don't know what to say. I'm actually feeling overwhelmed. I had second thoughts about sharing my issues on here, but the amount of support I get? I mean, it's so heartwarming and reassuring. And I know that my husband would have wanted our daughter to be able to celebrate her birthday as it mattered to him a lot. And I have no doubt that he'd want us to celebrate it every year just like we did with him in the past years. I have no doubt in my mind.